from a market perspective, Google only gets maybe 1% of their revenue from China. But Apple, to me, felt like a different story. They need China a little bit more than Google needs China. What's your take on market and also the geopolitical issues of this?
Well, I think this is a perfect example to see how foreign policy decisions impact business. I think this is all fake. There really is not any serious concern about Google antitrust or Apple antitrust in China. This is all about China and Xi Jinping smacking back down on Donald Trump. And they are upset about the tariffs. So what are they going to do about it? They're going to have to pay them. But in addition to that, they'll try to attack our companies. That's all this is about. So is it going to be a big deal? Yes, it's a big deal for Apple because Apple has its phones made in China. But remember what President Trump said just recently when he was questioned about TikTok. He said, whether it's TikTok or something else, if you have a phone, you might be getting surveilled. Your phone is made in China. Your Washington is made in China. This is a serious threat. This is our number one adversary. And this administration is going to be tougher on China than the former administration.
And Jackie, I know that you and I are both hot on a soundbite from Jamie Dimon when he was over in Davos. And I know it's hard for people to think about price increases after 4 years of a 20% price increase. But Jamie Dimon said, what is the cost of national security? And if that is a one-time little bit price increase, is it worth it?
Yes. And he said, so be it, because national security is really important. And I just liken it back to what we saw under Joe Biden, the inflation over 9% and what people were paying, families were paying every month over $1,000 extra. It was like an extra tax that they were dealing with. The impact of these tariffs will be much, much less than that, less than $1,000 for the entire year, which will also be offset by other Trump administration policies where people will get money coming back to them, the extension of the tax cuts, but also he's talking about not taxing Social Security, overtime, tips, those things. We'll see that in the policy as it starts to take shape in Congress. And so I think at the end of the day, you're really not going to feel, you know, if you watch MSNBC and you watch CNN, they're going to tell you that it's the apocalypse for prices. And it's just not. Right. It's not true.
Brian, your thoughts, because you used to be an economics professor before we stole you.
You emphasize used to be on that one. I take offense at that. Can I just point out the irony of the Chinese Communist Party, which allows no dissent and no competition, going after a company for monopoly? That's ridiculous. So you're right. This is totally fake. The effects could be real, though. OK, China's going to punch back. We haven't talked about de-risking and decoupling for a while, have we? And I think there's a lot of companies in China right now, they're selling in China or producing in China. And under Biden, that whole discussion kind of went away a little bit. It's got to come back. Look, if you're doing business in China, the communists will have their way with you. So you got to make a decision. Do we do it there or do we find other places around the world or better yet at home where we can avoid these things? And that's exactly, to your point, what Donald Trump's trying to do. Make it here, make it cheaper, and forget about communists. I think that's a pretty good deal.
Cheryl, your thoughts?
Well, I want to pick up on something that Maria's been talking about on her program, and that is the fact that you've got all of these Chinese companies that are trading on our exchanges, U.S.-listed exchanges. And I pulled up some data. In January of 2024, there were 265 companies, Chinese companies that were listed on our exchanges in this country. Market cap total, $848 billion. That is just another example of how China takes advantage of this country. And they are doing it with avoiding the tariffs. They skirted all of it under Biden, who rolled out the red carpet to Xi Jinping when he goes to San Francisco. But at the same time, there was no enforcement or no pushback for 4 years under Joe Biden. Donald Trump is now coming in and he is saying no more. And those 10% tariffs went into effect. And yes, shares of the owner of Amazon went down, but the owner of Temu, PDD, that stock is down. Alibaba is down. I understand the market reaction. But guess what else we found out this morning, thanks to ABC News, guys? DeepSeek? Breaking news. Yep, there's a code. There's a hidden code in there that's now being reported on that will... It takes user data and it sends it right back to the CCP. That was this morning.
And you should expect that with anything that is made in China. This topic is so important, I think, and that's why we did this special on Fox Nation, Underwriting the Enemy, because you're talking about all of these Chinese stocks traded on U.S. exchanges. They don't follow the same accounting rules as U.S. companies. So we don't even know really what the earnings are. But this issue, I keep asking all the lawmakers that come on Mornings with Maria, would you support taking those stocks off of U.S. exchanges. And, it's such a hot potato question and an issue because it hits right at who we are in terms of capitalism. We're capitalists.
Right.
This is a democracy. We should be able to invest in anything we want to invest, including China. However, you're hitting on national security. So when does national security become more important than our democracy to be able to invest in whatever we want? It's the law. Jamie Dimon told you, he told me, look, it's the law. I'm going to do everything I can in the confines of the law. When the law changes, then I'll pull out of China. So this question that I'm asking everyone, yes, I agree. It is all of these companies on U.S. exchanges, and it is enabling U.S. ordinary investors to fund our enemy, fund the adversary by investing in these companies. Do we want ordinary investors to be funding our adversary? No. But at the same time, do we want the option of investing anywhere we want to be taken away? This is the hot potato question.
And I wonder, just to follow on that, if there'll be some sort of fine line that Trump is walking when he's thinking about this and he's thinking about the tariffs. He wants to push back a little bit, but he doesn't want to take that freedom away to a certain degree. It's not like we have to completely, we talk about decoupling from China, but completely separate ourselves. Can we get them in a place where they're more in check, they're cooperating a little bit more, and therefore then we can really do business with them in earnest?
But we tried that for years.
Yeah.
See, that's what happened.
Can't trust
That's
them.
why we thought China would come to the middle. And that's why we were opening up. They came into the World Trade Organization. They didn't. Xi Jinping went the other way. And so it's an important question. I'll just say one more thing on this. Marco Rubio, senator from Florida, sponsored a bill to take those stocks off of U.S. exchanges. I don't know where he is now as Secretary of State.
Funny you mentioned him, because I'll tell you where he was recently. He was in Panama, saying that canal cannot be controlled by China. We've been talking about Greenland. What Trump's doing, I agree, Maria, over the past several years, we've had really no good conversation on this and no effort. So you got to change the whole structure of the negotiation, right? And you do that by going on offense a little bit with things like Panama and Greenland on foreign policy, with tariffs. And you say, China, if you're not going to come to the middle, we're going to change maybe where the middle is and put you on notice, and you've got to figure it out instead of America always being on.
You know what? It's not just the Panama Canal. Look at what they've been doing in Africa for decades.
Right.
China's encroachment into Africa is probably the most frightening thing, I think, in the world order right now.
Yeah.
And the whole world. That's their MO. They buy the ports. They set up, they say, we're going to lend you all this money and we will help develop your port. And half of these countries can't afford it. At the end of the day, when the money's due, they come and they say, OK, we own the port. They want that port because it's obviously a very strategic place for shipping.
Yep.
Bringing it back domestically, we don't have time to play this soundbite, but Stephen Miller was on Kudlow last night. And again, when you think about the purpose of tariffs, he said the long-term benefit is shifting revenue collection from corporate and income tax to tariffs. And that is the way the founding fathers thought about this country. So we have some foreign policy, but also some domestic issues as well.